Anime. Anime is great. It's brought us so many things. Things like emotional narratives, compelling worlds, masterful theming, catchy music, stellar animation, and the worst YouTube comments. But sometimes you don't want to dedicate to a big long series or a heartrending film. Oh god, I'm still hurting. Sometimes you just want to kick back, relax, and have some goofy fun. And whenever that's what I want to do, I always have a go-to that I can pop in. Sonic the Hedgehog is a 2-episode OVA produced by Studio Pierrot. Got it right this time. Released in Japan in January and February of 1996, hey, that's the year I was born, with 2 30-minute episodes on 2 separately released VHS tapes. The 2 episodes, Welcome to Eggman Land and Sonic vs. Metal Sonic, were both directed by Kazunori Ikegami and written by Masashi Kubota, with the musical score composed by Mitsuhiro Tada. The 2 episodes were licensed for a release in North America by Western anime distributor ADV Films in 1999, who dubbed them both and released them together as a direct-to-video film titled Sonic the Hedgehog the Movie, which is how most people know about it. It was released for us Americans on September 7th, 1999, only 2 days prior to the North American release of Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. This fun little OVA is something that I used to watch religiously on VHS as a kid, having gotten it for a birthday one year at a pool party. I was a pretty precocious kid growing up, but surrounded by neighborhood friends, unfortunately it seemed that I was just always destined for nerdy proclivities, because even among all of that company, eating cake, basking in the sun, I opened the gift wrap on this sucker and I immediately retreated inside where no one else was, and watched this by myself. And you know what? I had a great time. Is it silly? Yeah. Does it have some questionable plot elements? Absolutely. But was it fun? Hell yes. These days, I'm not sure if many outside the direct sphere of Sonic fandom would see themselves having any reason to watch this little beauty though, and I think that's kind of a shame. Not only because it's painfully easy to discover online due to its status in legal limbo of sorts, but also because it's just a good time and isn't really that long, all things considered. So, how do I pitch this to you? Well, honestly, I'm not sure. I kind of am already gonna spoil this sucker rotten in the video anyway, so it'd probably be better to watch it first before you see me spill my opinion on it. But, hey, maybe you're one of those people that can be 150% spoiled for something and still want to see it. And you know, you and me, we understand each other. Because I'm totally like that too. That's not to say that you should spoil things for me though, because sometimes I like to go in blind. You just leave me alone, okay? So hey, let's say we scrape some knuckles and catch some tails, whatever the hell that means, and let's take a look back at the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, and whether it's worth its time in the sunshine. The Sonic OVA's plot begins with Sonic and Tails being summoned to talk with the president of the world they reside in, which in this continuity is known as the Land of the Sky. The president of the Land of the Sky is this jolly old mustached man with tons of military badges who has an ambiguously anime cat girl for a daughter, whose name is Sarah. She's in love with Sonic for some reason, which, you know, could make the obvious joke, but what's the point? Unfortunately for the father-daughter duo, they've both been kidnapped and held captive by Dr. Robotnik, who's up to his usual evil schemes. Or so it first appears. In reality, it seems the Eggman has used this as a ploy to bait out Sonic for the purpose of actually enlisting his help with something. Of course, considering we see him laughing maniacally about killing Sonic in the opening moments of the film, this does little to reassure me of his sincerity, but to his credit, the hustle was at least a bit more subtle this time. As Robotnik explains, apparently the Land of Darkness where he lives is under siege by a giant and mechanical specter known as Metal Robotnik, who he swears is not only a separate entity from himself, but also drove him out of his home in the city. Apparently, Metal Robotnik has sabotaged this huge robot generator in the city by overloading it with excess electricity, enough to create an explosion that would destroy the entire planet before sunrise of the following day. Despite this being an obvious ploy, Sonic relents to the wishes of the masses, figuring that regardless of whether it's a trap or not, this is still probably a problem that needs solving. And he and Tails fly out to the Land of Darkness using a navigator watch given to them by Robotnik to plot the fastest route. When they finally arrive to the city, they encounter Metal Robotnik himself, who gives them a real run for their money in an excellent fight sequence that also sees them being assisted by none other than Knuckles the Echidna, making his debut as far as animated Sonic properties went at the time. He would also appear in Sonic Underground, but we don't talk about that. This fight is pretty spectacular and has some really great mood work with the dreary rain that pops out in the middle of the ordeal and so on. Although I will admit that the whole pooping glue at them thing is a weird. Why did you program it to do that? Soon after, they realize they're running out of time, having spent so much of it defeating Metal Robotnik, and the sun is, as they say, already setting.
The sun's already setting. We're starting to run out of time.
What's that? Look at it.
Uh-huh.
The trio descend into the lair of the robot generator, where they seem to successfully put it to a stop when it mysteriously grabs and scans Sonic in a sickly green aura cube thing. Look, I don't know what that is. When they all descend to the ground as the room collapses in on itself, they're confronted by a strange robotic copy of Sonic, which is identified by Robotnik, who, surprise, surprise, was Metal Robotnik, bet you didn't see that one coming, as Hyper Metal Sonic, a robot built to evenly match Sonic and run from a copy of his personality obtained from the fake generator's scan. Sonic and Metal fight for a while, with Sonic ultimately getting his ass handed to him because this is the middle of the arc and we need drama. Tails and Knuckles return to South Island so Tails can observe the software Robotnik put onto his navigator, hoping it can help him figure out a way to stop Metal. Robotnik, meanwhile, pals around with a teenage girl talking about his plans to marry her, which is, well, moving right along, Tails modifies the navigator to work against Metal because they're built from the same parts, and he says something here that I think is pretty interesting. That being that if they can find Metal, they'll find Sonic, as since they both have similar thought patterns, they can predict each other's actions and will ultimately end up likely in the same place. Knuckles, through extended random monologue, reveals he knows the best way to destroy the planet if he were gonna do it, which is a little suspicious, but okay, and tells us that in the north, there are rivers of magma running through the glaciers like blood vessels. He says that Metal's destruction around the planet will likely lead him to attack these glaciers, which would give rise to the glacial bridge, which would in turn send the Land of the Sky's continents adrift. The gravitational pull of the planet hurling them into space where they would be blown to pieces, and the planet itself would be entirely destroyed. Sonic is in this room while this entire conversation happens, so somehow Metal now also knows this, which, if you think for 5 seconds, seems a little dumb, but we're getting close to the end of the runtime, so we've got to get to the rematch somehow. We get to the rematch. Sonic and Metal beat the ever-loving snot out of each other in what I can only describe as pretty brutal for an animated Sonic fight. I mean, God, look at this. And it kicks ass every step of the way. Knuckles gets whack-a-moled, Tails accidentally learns what groping is, a hat gets set on fire, which I'm pretty sure Knuckles should have just burned alive, but okay. Oh, and also, Sonic uses Psychic Brother mind powers to look through Metal's eyes to sneak a peek at an anime catgirl's panties, because of course he does. Also, Knuckles redirects the magma for a kiss, which, to be fair to him, isn't the worst motivation I've ever heard for something. The President and Old Man Owl crash a ship into a glacier, which nearly gets everyone killed, which is kind of hilarious when you consider they literally had no reason to be here, and would probably have caused much less trouble for everyone if they had just not gone anywhere. However, despite the fact that the ship explodes, the explosion does not end up destroying the planet or killing the men inside because they're saved in the nick of time by the severely damaged Metal. Metal is clearly worse for wear, having taken a finishing blow from Sonic that basically sealed his fate as the loser of the battle, and a stray piece of debris actually strikes Metal into a subglacial volcano after he saves the two. A hint that perhaps his personality being identical to Sonic's led him to begin to develop a similar sense of heroism as opposed to a blind want for destruction in the end. Sonic, realizing that he could totally have two of himself and make twice as much sweet merchandising money, tries to save Metal from a fiery doom, but is ultimately refused as Metal smacks Sonic's hand away, allowing himself to melt to death as he acknowledges that Sonic is the true Sonic, the only one left standing. Anybody want to tell him about, like, the 500 billion continuities, or...
I'm so fast, you couldn't even comprehend how fast I am.
Afterwards, Sonic is depressed, but basically told by everyone to cheer up, because so what if a psychological duplicate of himself just died horribly in front of him? He's saved the day! Knuckles punches Sonic for stepping on him earlier, to which Sonic replies that he never indulged Knuckles' filthy kinks, before deciding to split on the party because everybody wants him too bad. God help him with the OCs. Thus ending the 1996 OVA, Sonic the Hedgehog. So yeah, the story's kinda goofy in a lot of little places, but overall, it's not really a bad plot. For a full show, this would have been an awesome 2 to 3 episode arc, if anything. Although apparently this was supposed to be a pilot for a potential Sonic anime series that never got picked up, which is kind of a crying shame. I mean, sure, I won't pretend to think that this is the best anime ever or anything, but it's sure a whole lot of fun, and seeing it in a full series format, I think they really could have done a lot of cool stuff with it. You can really tell from a lot of the longer info dumps that the people behind this must have actually put a lot of thought into how this version of Sonic's world functioned, and how the different layers of Planet Freedom were comprised. The ancient ruins that Sonic and Tails visit are basically just waterlogged New York, for example, so one has to wonder what kind of crazy lore is going on behind the scenes here.
Welcome to my house. As you can see, I've knocked over many chairs because I get so tilted at the towers.
Is Planet Freedom secretly Earth post-apocalypse? Are we pulling another Archie Sonic? Well, given the state of things, I honestly don't want to even think about that, so that one may have to remain a mystery for now. But even still, even some of the more niche stuff, like the way the planet's continents are chained together and held by glaciers, and how they'd fly into space and disintegrate if the ice melted, is pretty cool. Just as a concept, it's definitely a good way to build a climactic finale, if nothing else. Although, it does make one wonder why Eggman doesn't just fly over there on his day off and blow the entire planet to Kingdom Come if he wants to destroy it that bad. I mean, I don't know, maybe he's just got reverse stage fright or something? Something kind of interesting about this world building, actually, is that due to a translation error in the English dub, many audiences were probably confused as hell by even more of it for years. In the dub, Robotnik refers to the Land of the Sky and the Land of Darkness as two separate dimensions that make up Planet Freedom. However, you might hear that and think to yourself, wait, hang on, 2 dimensions make up the planet? 2 entire whole-ass dimensions?
What kind of place is this?
Well, no. Apparently, this was just ADV being stupid, because the actual accurate translation would be something more akin to layers or regions. It's more or less just that the Land of the Sky is, well, just that, in the sky, where Sonic and pals all live with cool, good people, and Robotnik lives down on the ruined surface of the actual planet, the Land of Darkness, which is decrepit, ruined, and mechanical, and pretty lonely aside from the robots. God, now that I think about it, this just keeps adding layers to the setting, huh? I wonder why Eggman is the only person living down on the crappy ruined surface while Sonic and Tails kick it with the president and his anime daughter in the clouds. Why is there a ton of land just chilling out in the sky, anyway? It's not like Knuckles is a guardian on a floating island in this canon. He's just some treasure-hunting dude with a cool cowboy hat, so that couldn't be it. Am I meant to believe that Sonic is bourgeoisie and Eggman is just fighting his economic oppressors? Wait, no, that's stupid. He owns an entire city. I mean, sure, it's a pretty crappy city, but damn, it's still an entire city. I mean, I don't even own my own house yet. I don't feel bad for him. Another interesting thing is that apparently the people who made this OVA didn't actually even know what Knuckles was, because not only does Sarah call him Mr. Mole at one point, but even the DVD bios call Knuckles a mole. I mean, I guess to be fair to them, nobody knows what an echidna is. And he digs underground a lot, but still, Knuckles the Mole. It just sounds really bizarre. I don't like it. Not nearly as much as this sick cowboy hat, anyway. This thing has become something of a running joke for the Sonic fandom ever since this came out, honestly. I don't know what it is about this hat, but we all love it. It's made cameo appearances in a lot of other Sonic media over time, even recently appearing in Sonic Force's Speed Battle. Weird stuff, but hey, I'm not complaining. What's even more bizarre, however, is some scenes of suggestive or crude natures that were originally edited out of early dub and DVD releases, which were then brought back in the uncut DVD release in 2004. One of them is the infamous scene of Sonic flipping the bird at Metal Robotnik, although this is said to have been edited to show Sonic's index finger instead in early releases. Either way, I don't really know that it makes a difference, because the gesture is so obviously the middle finger that even if it's slightly off, the motion says it all. I've heard, though, that this story about the shot being digitally edited is actually false, and it was always like this, even in the original tapes, but I don't own Japanese copies of the VHS tapes, so I couldn't tell you for sure whether that's actually true or not, although I would actually like to own copies of the Japanese VHS tapes. Hit me up if anybody wants to send me those. There's also this weird scene where we see Sarah breastfeeding when she imagines what it's like to mother Robotnik's kids. And yeah, honestly, I don't really know that we needed this scene to begin with. Could probably have done without it. In fact, this OVA seems to really occupy itself with pervy jokes at Sarah's expense, which is predictable, but still not thrilling. One is the aforementioned Sonic skirt peek, but then there's also the part where Tails rolls into a snowball, crashes into her, and jumps off in embarrassment after his hands land on her boobs. Although I will admit that it is a bit hilarious to see Knuckles automatically assume that this 8-year-old child's intent was to definitely grope her. Like he should have had any idea what that even means at his age. The voice cast is pretty decent in both versions, but there are definitely some standouts in each respective cast. Masumi Kikuchi does a perfectly serviceable job as both Sonic and Metal in the Japanese dubs, giving Sonic the right amount of free-spirited levity but biting wit and attitude that makes him himself.
これからが本当の勝負だ。どっちかぶっ倒れるまでやろうぜ、メタル。何？この世にソニックは2人はいらねえ。俺一人でいいだと？
Martin Burke is definitely good too, if not a bit hammy. My only complaint with him would just be that he sounds a bit nasal at times, but other than that, I generally don't have any objections. In fact, I kind of like that Martin Sonic almost sounds kind of like a dumb teenager trying really hard to sound cool, because I think that fits the character pretty well.
So now we can get down to the real fight. The last Sonic standing will be the winner. What? This world isn't big enough for both of us and one of us has to go?
Hekiru Shina as Tails is easily the better of the two.
完成したよ。ほら、かっこいいでしょ。ジェット推進式のボディーボード。ね、ソニックもやらない。
俺いいよ。
As while I don't have a ton to say about her performance, it definitely beats out Lainey Frazier's.
But Dr. Robotnik is the only person who knows where Robotropolis is, so we have to use his navigator and hope it works.
I guess so.
Lainey, I don't know where you are now, if you're still working, or even if you're with us, so I hope you take no disrespect from this. That being said, God, this has to be one of the worst Tails voices to date, and yes, I'm even saying that in a world where Sonic Heroes exists. She sounds like she is constantly underneath, like, 5 colds, and half the time you can't even intuit her dialogue from underneath it.
Sonic! I bet it's because the robot generator is out of control and causing reactions under the ground!
Right, we should hurry.
Ah! I'm afraid of lightning!
It's really not good, and you'd think any sensible director would have told her to please stop. But no, that's just what we get. Knuckles is, in my opinion, also better in the Japanese, with the portrayal of Yasunori Matsumoto, who, while not particularly special in the role, still definitely fills it decently well.
お前たちだけじゃ心配だからな。じゃあな。何グズグズしてるんだよ。早くしないと爆発しまうぞ。
Bill Wise, on the other hand, this is a weird one. On one hand, while his acting has about the same cheese to it as Burke's, I'd still say that similarly to Burke's, it's not actually bad acting. If anything, he's probably one of the more talented actors at a base level in this dub. But the only problem is that I just don't know what they were doing with his tone of voice.
Oh no!
Oh no!
The only person who would do something this terrible is Robotnik.
Now, sure, I know Knuckles didn't really have an official voice in America until Sonic Adventure came out right after this, so given the actual production timeline, they probably didn't have a whole lot to go off of. But man, this voice is just way too high for Knuckles. It doesn't really fit at all. Even when I try my best to envision it, it's just like, nope. Instant mental disconnect. Can't get it to work. Junpei Takiguchi, however, is actually an example of one of the Japanese actors I don't prefer. Compared to Edwin Neal's portrayal of Dr. Robotnik, both are goofy, but Takiguchi's Eggman just comes off as a little dry and underperformed, in my opinion. He kinda sounds a lot of the time like he's asleep, just being there. And at the very least, Neal puts a lot of gusto into it.
You fell for my trap. You came all the way here and now you'll die here. Good job, Sonic.
What did you say?
The same thing occurs with the President, played in Japanese by Yuzuru Fujimoto, because Neal snags this role for the dub too, and pulls the exact same magic. Fujimoto is easily the most boring-sounding actor in the production in the original cast, and Neal at least puts energy into his reads, which, despite how much you may or may not like the voice he does, is still miles better acting than the original.
ソニックよ、頼む、エッグマンの話を聞いとくれ。
仕方ねえな。
Little Sarah, Sonic, please listen to whatever Robotnik has to say.
Oh, all right.
Mika Kanai and Sasha Biesi actually do about as well as each other when it comes to Sarah, although I will say that Sasha's more closely resembles an actual smarmy teenager.
What do you mean worse than Metal Robotnik? Are you talking about yourself? You better keep your hands off my Sonic or I'll never forgive you!
As opposed to Kanai's more typical cutesy anime voice. It kinda has some of the same charm as like some of the early Deke Sailor Moon voices, if you know what I'm talking about. Although Kanai also plays Satoko in Higurashi, and I love Higurashi, so I might just have a little bit of bias going on there. And speaking of Higurashi, Chaffarine voices Old Man Owl in this. What? Yeah, dude who's famous for voicing Detective Oishi in that one Ugly Hollow in Bleach is the kooky owl guy in the Sonic OVA.
いいですか、久しぶりじゃ。ソニック様にな、緊急の用事があって来たんじゃよ。
おじいさん、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃないよ。ロケットが燃えてるよ。
あ、いや、どうも。
To be honest though, I have to hand this one to the English voice Charles Campbell, who I think just puts more energy and comedy into his reads than Chaffarine's, which come across, yet again, a little dry.
Very impressive, Tails.
Thanks, I had some good practice before on my bodyboard.
Lucky for me.
I'm not sure many Japanese voice actors know how to make old men sound interesting, come to think of it, because every old man voice I hear in a Japanese dub, I swear, just talk like they're going to croak and die any minute now. The biggest part of the sound department I care about in this movie, though, is obviously the soundtrack. This stuff all slaps so hard, with some of my personal favorites being the South Island theme, the Land of Darkness theme, and of course the movie's theme tune, Look-alike by Ryo Konika. For those of you who aren't huge Sonic nerds like me and wouldn't have heard about this, what's kind of cool actually is that this soundtrack has never been officially released since this thing came out. And for over 20 years, we have had no way to find high quality rips of the original tracks until recently. Apparently this dude named Illuminor has some kind of anonymous contact who was involved with the production of the OVA. Illuminor first messaged them to ask about possibly transcribing some missing lyrics from Lookalike, which could be heard in an old promotional video for the OVA, but was never in any version of the song in the final cut. Unexpectedly, this person not only sent Illuminor the full HD song that had never seen the light of day before in return, but also a full demo recording of nearly the entire soundtrack. Some of it is obviously not completely filled out and has some sound artifacting, but it is generally pretty good stuff, and is the closest we've ever gotten to an official release of these tracks. Unfortunately, the person didn't have a master sound source, so this is pretty much the best we've got. And the tracks themselves don't even have official names apparently, they're just numbered. Sega should really release this full soundtrack someday, but I doubt they ever will. Maybe if we just bother them enough, they'll do it someday. Honestly though, aside from a few scant references and Easter eggs here and there, Sega largely ignores that this OVA even exists to this day. And to be honest, I mean, I understand why to a certain extent. It's just another weird licensed relic that exists in the unending ocean of side Sonic canon universes from different continuities that never were. But on the other hand, damn, I'd really like to see this thing get re-released. I mean, hell, the other notable Sonic anime, Sonic X, got re-released on Blu-ray from Discotek a few years back. Of course, it was only released in dub format, which was annoying, and a lot of people are still holding out hope for a sub-release, which I'd buy in a heartbeat if Sega let them do it. But, come on, Sega. You already have a working relationship with Discotek. Why not let them give a shot at re-releasing this old classic? Heck, maybe they could even throw a soundtrack CD in for a bonus in a special edition release or something, but now I'm just getting ahead of myself. God knows Sega hates listening to their fans if they go on for too long about every little thing they want. Snoo. But really, I think there is definitely a market for this now, if not for the original Sonic movie before the Jim Carrey one angle, quote-unquote, then at least for the people out there who would be interested in a Sonic anime. Sure, it's not the deepest or the most tightly composed anime out there by any means, but it's still a really fun watch with some excellent visuals, catchy music, killer fight scenes. It also just has a lot of cool little details to go around, fun visual stylings of its own that I can't really get enough of the aesthetic of, and cute little blink and you'll miss it inclusions, like Tails trying really hard to be cool and imitate Sonic's body language in this one part, or Tails' fear of lightning being lifted from his character profile in Sonic Jam for the Saturn. I know Sega probably wants to continue playing it safe with Sonic's brand image, but I mean, come on, guys. We live in a world where the MCU regularly breaks box office records, and nobody's complaining that the comics don't make sense because they watch the movies. We, as an audience base, are very accustomed to the idea of different continuities and universes for the characters we enjoy and the franchises we love. I understand the hesitance to overdo it, but I think every once in a while you guys can stand to be a little riskier. And besides, it's just a little OVA. Couldn't be that bad, right? Well, maybe not all people want it as much as I do, but hey, I'll be loud if no one else will. It's kinda like my job at this point. Bring back the Sonic OVA. If I can see that one trending a little longer this week than something else telling me that the world is ending, then maybe I can breathe a little easier for a bit. The Sonic OVA isn't a masterpiece, and it's certainly not even my favorite Sonic product, but it makes me happy. And sometimes, especially now times, that's all you really need. Something to take you on a fun trip, show you some excitement, give you some laughs, and make you feel good. Even the most thought-provoking media in the world sometimes aren't exactly what we need. Sometimes, exactly what we need is a little freedom to enjoy ourselves. And that's exactly what I love the Sonic OVA for. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. The next couple of videos are not going to be Sonic related. I'm sorry, I just need to decompress and make some other stuff that's not exclusively Sonic right now. But don't worry, if this channel mascot should make anything clear, it's that I have plenty of Sonic content planned for the future and beyond down the pipeline. I just also want to talk about other things that I love too, so I'm gonna go back to doing that for a hot minute after this video. Remember to like and subscribe and share the video, really helps me out, and remember you can pledge to the Patreon to assist in the creation of future content like this. You can also follow me on social media to harass me about my opinions, or join the free community Discord server to hang out with like-minded peers, link in the description below. That's all for me, I'm NezumiVA, I'll see you all next time. Peace.